This video is sponsored by Gemstone Legends. For quite some time, there has been murmurs about the secret Cold War behind the scenes at Disney, most notably at Lucasfilm, over which creative direction key brands like Star Wars should take. As it turned out, however, that was but one front in the real conflict taking place in Disney's highest echelons. And that conflict heated up significantly with the sudden ouster of Bob Chapek and all of his lieutenants, and more recently with the drama over certain board members where even Blackrock got involved. Clearly, a game of corporate Game of Thrones is being played out before our eyes, and the stakes are nothing short of Disney's soul, if you will, and the future direction of all of Disney's assets. But for us on the outside, it's hard to grasp the details of what is really going on, and even who the key players are, let alone their intentions for the company. In this video then, we're going to cut through all the noise, and in the briefest way possible, bring you up to speed with what has happened behind the scenes at Disney's corporate level, which new players have entered the game, and what this all means for Disney, the parks, Star Wars, Pixar, and even Marvel going forward. Before any of that though, and on the topic of games, this video is brought to you by Gemstone Legends, an epic RPG Match 3 game made for RPG enthusiasts by RPG enthusiasts. You can tell from it combining multiple genres into one game, and most notably, how well this has been received by the players. Case in point, it scored a solid 4.6 stars on Android and almost 5 on iOS. Download and try the game for free using the link in the description or the QR code on screen and receive an amazing starter pack. Gemstone Legends has the puzzle style element, as well as hero collectors with more than 200 heroes from 8 different factions and from 5 different tiers. Moreover, every hero has a unique set of skills around which you can devise a strategy for each battle. During the puzzle battles, you get to use epic combo attacks and your tactical sense, solve match 3 puzzles, and beat powerful monsters to build your empires. There's even dragons for you to use, how cool is that? So, gather clans of heroes and start an epic puzzle adventure in a high fantasy RPG open world. Also, join the Discord channel to remain up to date, hang out, and fight with your teammates against different bosses to win even more rewards. On top of that, there are daily, weekly, and monthly missions, and plenty more to come for this awesome game. So download Gemstone Legends for free for Android and iOS using either our QR code on screen or by clicking the link in the description. That way, you'll get an exclusive starter pack worth $50, which includes 500,000 coins, 300 gems, 10 mana elixirs, and the 4-star hero Anarchy. Good luck, and I'll see you in the game. With that, let's go over what's been going on over at Disney. After the sudden ousting of Bob Chapek as CEO and the subsequent removal of all of his lieutenants in Disney, the next to go would be none other than Chairman of the Board Susan Arnold, who just so happened to be a Chapek ally. Disney's board does need a chairman though, but anyone hoping that Susan Arnold, a woman and member of the LGBTQ+ community, would be replaced by either another woman or another member of the LGBTQ+ community are out of luck. You see, Disney's commitment to diversity and inclusion is only skin deep, so for such an important position, white male Mark Parker was chosen. More importantly though, Mark Parker is an ally of Bob Iger, so his appointment secures Iger's grip on the proverbial Disney throne. Mark Parker comes from Nike, and like Iger, he's very chummy with China and the CCP. Interestingly, just 1 week after his appointment, China dropped their de facto ban on Marvel movies, which has been in place ever since Avengers Endgame, meaning that Ant-Man Quantumania actually will be released in China. There may have been some quid pro quo or other dealings to achieve this though, because shortly after, we started hearing rumors and non-verified reports that Marvel's cast were to be educated on China. More specifically, on what is permissible to say about China, and even more important than that, what is not permissible to say, so none of them will cause any kind of incident and have to grovel and humiliate themselves the way that John Cena did when he referred to Taiwan as a country.
我有一个错误，我必须说现在就是很重要，我爱更尊重中国跟中国人，我很抱歉对我的错误，对不起，我很抱歉，你必须了解，我很爱很尊重中国跟中国人。不好意思，再见。
So, to summarize Disney under Iger's recently begun second reign, or third if you count when he forced himself back during Chapek's limited run, Disney catering to China and the CCP is back, while in Western markets, Disney will double down on the wokeness that Chapek tried to roll back.
This company has been telling stories for 100 years, and those stories have had a meaningful, positive impact on the world. And one of the reasons they've had a meaningful, positive impact is because one of the core values of our storytelling is inclusion and acceptance and tolerance. And we can't lose that. We just can't lose that. I think about Black Panther and the impact that had on the world, or a film like Coco. I mean, I could go on, and how we actually changed the world for the good. It must continue.
This statement from Bob Iger foreshadows what Kevin Feige told the MovieBiz podcast in their January 11th episode when asked what lessons they've taken away following Phase 4.
To distill it down of what lessons is learned is entertain the audience at every turn. Frank Capra has a quote that our co-president Lou D'Esposito quotes often, which is basically distilled down to entertain first. You can have as many beautiful messages and beautiful life theories and beautiful thematics that you want to put into the world, that all of us do and all of our filmmakers do. But if you're not entertaining first, it will fall on deaf ears. And I think that's always been the way.
In other words, to paraphrase, Marvel movies will still be filled to the brim with social messaging. They're just going to try to hide it better by making the movies more entertaining.
Not a great plan.
It would appear that Iger must have told Feige to increase Marvel earnings, but that the message stays. That's Iger's new Disney in action, so if you were hoping for a return to the good olden days of actually less than a decade ago, when Disney actually put out good Marvel content, you might not want to hold your breath. But that is not to say that Iger's reign is completely unopposed. There is a noteworthy new player on the scene, and that would be Nelson Peltz, the billionaire founder of Trian Fund Management. Peltz is a highly successful and experienced investor and businessman, but rather than going through his extensive resume, let's cut right through the chase and answer the one question you all want answered, but which none of the trades will tell you, at least not in a clear manner. No, Nelson Peltz is not woke. Quite the contrary, by all accounts, this is someone of rather conservative leanings. According to the timeline presented in Variety, he only became a Disney investor last summer after having had talks with Bob Chapek and Ike Perlmutter. For any new viewers who don't remember that name, Ike Perlmutter used to be the co-owner of Marvel, and for the duration of Phase 1 and 2 of the MCU. He was the one Kevin Feige reported to, and the one who kept any inclinations Feige might have had towards politicizing the MCU in check. You see, Perlmutter is so not woke that he has been known to hang out with his buddy Donald Trump at the Mar-a-Lago. Just before the MCU went woke, Perlmutter was ousted from daily Marvel operations by Bob Iger on Kevin Feige's behest, while Feige assumed Perlmutter's earlier responsibilities as the head of Marvel. Perlmutter retained a significant portfolio of Disney shares though, and still exerts some level of influence through them. And so it came to pass that in the fall of 2022, Perlmutter championed that Nelson Peltz, now a Disney shareholder, be put on Disney's board, for the reason, published by Variety, that without Mr. Peltz there, former executives, including Mr. Iger, would be back at Disney. But before Peltz could be placed on the board, the Disney coup d'etat happened, and Iger and his cronies did return and are now firmly in charge of Disney. But while not placed on the board, Peltz still had acquired $1 billion worth of Disney shares by this time, and now he became an activist shareholder for real. The term activist shareholder is one that can be misunderstood, especially since both myself and other content creators consistently use activist as a shorthand for SJW or other ideologue committed to making the world more authoritarian and overall a worse place to be. Activist shareholder, though, is an established term within the field of finance, and it refers to a shareholder who, rather than sit passively by and collect dividend, actively wants to change the direction of the company because he is of the opinion that the company is either mismanaged or otherwise fails to produce the value and results it by rights should. And that is indeed Nelson Peltz's thesis, that Disney isn't doing anywhere near as good as it should do given the company's tremendous assets. While this has never been explicitly stated anywhere, it is not a stretch to imagine that his real bone of contention is the company's overt politicization and wokeness, which is turning out to be a customer repellent. His campaign for a position on the board is called Restore the Magic, which he evidently feels Disney no longer delivers. However, the Iger regime has firmly rejected Peltz's bid for a seat at the board. Their reasons for doing so range from that Iger needs quiet to implement his changes to Disney's strategy and structure, although Chapek was given no such thing, to that Nelson Peltz isn't qualified to provide any kind of worthwhile input when it comes to the world of entertainment, even if customer satisfaction is the bread and butter of a bunch of other companies he's been involved with. But Peltz isn't taking no for an answer, nor will he be written off with anything but a full seat at the board. So now, Disney has a proxy war on their hands. Again, proxy war is a term from the world of finance and corporate governance, and refers to when one or more activist shareholders are dissatisfied with a particular aspect of the company and seek change in that area. However, they often run into resistance from the company's current board of directors. The dissatisfied shareholders then attempt to persuade other shareholders to allow them to use their proxy votes on a proposed change to the company's board positions. That way, the activist shareholders can actually remove the board members who are particularly resistant to their cause, and replace them with someone more sympathetic towards it, thereby forcing the desired change upon the company. If I'm honest, quite a few companies have been wokeified this way, but the process should work the other way too. So that is what Nelson Peltz is doing right now, trying to convince as many as possible of Disney's other shareholders to come over to his line of thinking, which is that Disney is currently mismanaged and not earning what it should, which means the shareholder dividend payouts will be less than what they could and should have been. So that's where we are right now. Just like in the latter days of Michael Eisner, Disney has a proxy war on its hands. But make no mistake about it, for Peltz, this will be an uphill struggle. Disney's single biggest institutional investors are Blackrock and Vanguard, both of which are known for using their financial muscle to push for ESG and DEI, so it stands to reason that they are firmly in Iger's camp and will fight Nelson Peltz and anyone he manages to bring over tooth and nail. According to a scoop, Mike the Mexican Idol Man, who in his private life is a professional within the field of corporate finance, broke over at WDW Pro. Blackrock alone controls 3 out of 11 board seats, and for those 3 seats, they have a total of 12 people they can rotate between them in case one or more should be ousted. On top of that, Iger has a seat and Mark Parker has a seat, and none of them will be swayed, so already there are 5 out of 11 board members who will fight tooth and nail and do everything in their power to convince the others to block everything Peltz will try. While this doesn't mean that Peltz already has lost and he might as well give up, it does mean that the fight to restore the magic to Disney will be a long and a difficult one, because both Blackrock and Vanguard, Chairman Mark Parker and CEO Bob Iger are all determined to keep the magic the hell away. For Disney's shareholders, these stakes are simply a matter of dividends, and the question is which option will yield the higher dividend payments, going with Team Iger or going with the emerging Team Peltz. For us on the outside of that though, what is really going on is an ideological battle for Disney's soul, and the victor will determine the future direction of everything Disney does. From the parks, to the coverage of the news on ABC, to Marvel, to Lucasfilm, to Pixar. So, will Disney go back to being something truly inclusive which built generations of fans? Or continue down its current divisive path where those very fans are walking away? Time will tell, and we will keep you up to date as we learn more. For more detailed and technical discussions, now that you know the gist and the key players, I highly recommend that you check out our good friends Valiant Renegade and WDW Pro, especially when Mike the Mexican Idol Man appears. With that, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And before you go, remember to download and play Gemstone Legends for free. Use the QR code on screen or our link in the description to get an exclusive starter pack.